How long have I known you then?
Oh man, at least since 2012 or so, 2012 or something like that, because we started back in the bankruptcy days, I think.
The bankruptcy days. We'll come on to that in a second.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, when you weren't here, but your loyal employees were here, I talked about some consolidation in the industry at the Digital Signage Conference. So we talked about what you'd done. 2 weeks ago, you acquired Ayuda, and they're in the room. And last week, you acquired the Campsite project, which we count as an ad exchange. And I talked about that at the Digital Signage Conference and talked about that some of the other companies in the space, but there weren't that very many in the out-of-home space. So we wanted to change the agenda today. There's lots of Broadsign customers here, and there's lots of Ayuda customers here. In fact, if you're a media owner in this room and you're not a Broadsign or Ayuda customer, looking at one particular person who just presented, I'm sure you'll be attacked by all the salesmen. But there's very few companies in here who do out-of-home media who are not Broadsign or Ayuda. We wanted to change the agenda because we wanted to give the Broadsign customers a chance to talk to Burr. Now, Burr's been busy the last couple of weeks. When I spoke to you last week, you were in Cologne, obviously talking, I guess you're talking to Stroy, you don't need to say anything. It's always off the record with Burr. He'd be the most brilliant poker player in the world. He never gives anything away. And then you went to Paris. I can't imagine who you went in Paris, but and then you sent me your travel schedule, so I know where you've been since between then and now. But we wanted to try and do this little presentation. There's marketing people and PR people a bit worried. Again, I have a reputation, I suspect. But I know some people in the audience who've got some questions. So we're going to start off. Now, Mr. Steve Nesbitt has got the microphone. So why don't we, the first question we've got is from Antonio in the front row here. Oh, hold on, we need to get the microphone. So I should, yep, come. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun.
Volunteer help.
Yeah, you sit down next to him there. Right,
so Antonio's actually a customer twice, right?
Yeah.
Burr, congratulations.
He wants to know where to move to.
Well, congratulations on the 2 acquisitions in a row, one after the other. I believe you've been there since 2012, no?
Yeah, so I took over I've been there since 2008, but I took over the company in 2012, and then I took
And
CEO
why did
job in
it take
2014.
you so many years to do the first acquisition, whereas in the tech space, usually they happen at a quicker pace?
Yeah, well, probably 3 reasons. One was, there was a lot of money sloshing around in the industry for a while. So it was easy to raise money and not necessarily make money. And it took a little while for realism to kind of set in the industry. So there were a lot of expectations relative to high prices. The second thing is, to be honest, it took us a little while to get our stride on trying to figure out what we wanted to do. I was at Adrian's event 2 years ago, and I said we'd hired a vice president of acquisitions. We weren't quite ready yet, but you would see something, and it took us a little while to get it organized. And we don't like to buy companies that are. Some people buy companies that are kind of like dying and going away. We like to buy companies that still have value, and it takes a little while to adjust on things to try and understand how to maximize that. In the still valuable stage. So
we're going to make you work, Steve. Stand up. Jose Mora from AdMobilize has got a question, I believe, as well.
Hey there. Well, congratulations again on the acquisition. Now that the main 2 players from the CMS side kind of join in together, how do you see competitors now? Do you see somebody kind of rising at a global level, or more like fighting local players?
There's always competitors. To be honest with you, our number 1 competitor has always been an internally generated solution. So there'll still be some people that feel like they have to do an internally generated solution. I don't think it's the best, speaking as an investor, I don't think it's the best way to do it, because we just see a lot more use cases, and it makes a lot more sense for us to be able to spread the development costs up a much wider base. But there will be still some people that feel that they somehow have some expertise in doing that, and then even at that, there's always competition. People always come in, and that's fine. It's good for the industry. So.
Okay, Mick from Ad Media, yeah, at the back there. Now this is one of the guys who doesn't use your software.
Sorry about that.
I'll leave now. Do you want me
What
to
do we
leave
need
now?
to do
or-
to convince you?
Yes, yeah.
That was the question, wasn't it?
It is, yeah, how much? So I'd just like to start actually by saying, and echoing what my two esteemed colleagues in the room have said, just huge congratulations on your recent news. From a media owner perspective, I wondered whether any of the media owners that deal with you had any thoughts on the acquisition, probably namely Deco, because the relationship between the IODA and also Strur, did that cause you any concerns or... And it was something that I was speaking to Adrian about the other day, and he said, well, the great man will be in the room on Wednesday, so why don't you ask him yourself? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of course, that's always the case. Number one for Broadsign, the number one most important thing is always that we try and keep our customers satisfied. We want them to be happy with us. Yeah, there are some concerns that way, but by the same token, you know, Broadsign, IUTA, the combined company now, we're kind of like Microsoft Windows or something like that. We service a lot of the big competitors, and we just focus on trying to provide the best software that's available to meet the most use cases. And at the end of the day, most of the time our clients understand that the number one thing that's important to us is trying to make them happy. And so they might prefer that we did things a little differently, but at the end of the day, they kind of understand that's the way it's going to be. So.
Cool. I know Daniel Fornan's got a question at the front. Daniel, of
Okay.
course, long time Broadside.
While I'm making my way to the other side of the world, can I follow
I
up
only
on the
gave you
first
the microphone
question?
to be like the carrier.
Possession's 9/10 of the law. He's a lawyer. He knows. As a follow-on to the first question, when you bought the company then in 2012, and you just talked about some of the things that you had to, as you said, get in order, did you really think at that time that by 2019 you'd be the #1 brand name in the world? And what is it that you can look back on was the key thing that you did?
That was a very good question, actually, Steve. Very good. Very good.
Well, you know, there's a couple of things that are kind of important about Broadsign. One is we've got a pretty strong sense of values, you know, and we try and to have the employees understand what those values are, and we try to live by those values. And at the end of the day, there's a pretty if you take care of your clients, good things happen. And I don't know that we ever thought we would be this, but we do pretty much think all the time that we're just going to try and get a little bit better every day. And if you do that long enough, good things happen, and people begin to recognize it. So I mean, I think it's an indication that our clients trust us and respect us, and that's an honor and a privilege. So.
Daniel.
Good to see you, Burr.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Success is on the far side of failure, I think. So that said, you must be really pleased as to how you've turned Broadsign round since 2012. As a shareholder, the major shareholder.
I'm not unhappy at all.
Is there a secret to your success?
Basically, that same sort of thing: values, committing yourself to, and believing. You know, I'm going to go back and do a Burrism. You know, I like to ride bikes, right? So one of the examples I give is, you're riding a bicycle, you see a great big hill out there. You look at it and you say, geez, how am I going to ever get to the top of that hill? What you basically do is you kind of put your head down and you pedal, and you keep on pedaling, and then all of a sudden, before too long, you're at the top of the hill and you're looking back and you're saying, geez, what did I do? And it's all about just trying to stick to your business and trying to treat everybody the right way. And at the end of the day, if you just stick to that stuff, things happen. So.
Okay. Now, English people, or British people in the audience, familiar with Gardener's Question Time on Radio 4? Must be. I'm showing my age, probably. Anyway, Mrs. Jones from Ivy Cottage has written in and said, how do you keep your petunias so nice? And has also added, because they obviously wanted to be anonymous, are you intending to keep the DSP side of your business? And that was from Mrs. Jones from Ivy Cottage, I have to hasten to add. Are you going to keep the DSP side of the business? See, that's a tricky question. Mrs. Jones asked that one.
So the easiest, we got the DSP business with Campsite. The reason we got the DSP business with Campsite is because Campsite had about 4 or 5 different qualities that we really, really wanted. And basically it was, actually we had almost lost the deal because we were concerned about how our customers would feel if we were on the demand side. And we don't want to be in a position where the customers don't have confidence that we're interested in the same thing as them. But during that window in time when we thought we'd lost it, there were about 4 different products that we realized that if we didn't have it, wouldn't be able to make the roadmap for the next couple of years. Plus there's a great pool of labor talent there that has a lot of expertise in the programmatic area. There's a great ability in the existing tools in order to scale the operability of our existing reach business. At the end of the day, we just had when there was a window of opportunity, we could go back in and get it. We decided we had to get it. Cool. Do I want to be on the DSCP side of the business? Not particular. I'm not sure I want to carry the receivables as long as you got to carry the receivables and stuff like that. But it's kind of the right place to be at the right time.
Nice answer. Phil Daniels, the next question. This is something that Phil asked me the other day. I was doing a good job for Broadsign Iuda in my little salesmanship when I was briefing the speakers. I said, "Do you use Scala?" And the question came up, Phil.
It's just, how big do you think you can make the company?
Well, this is another Burrism. I tell the employees all the time, there's about 3 or 4 times in your life when you're at the right place at the right time with the right group of people with the right place in the market. And I've done okay in my life. But let's face it, at this point in time, this is probably my last time to do something special. So I want this to be as long as it can possibly be. And we'll intend to try and do that, and we'll intend to try and keep on having fun and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, the answer to that question is going to be, how long are our clients going to support us? How long are our clients going to trust us? And our growth will be limited by when our clients no longer believe that they can absolutely have confidence in us, and I hope that's a long, long time away. Does that answer the question or not?
Peter Livesey had a question, and then we'll go to Matthew at the back there, and then we'll go back to Mrs. Rose Petal from Ivy Cottage.
Hi, Burr.
Hi.
You've really surprised the market with these 2 quick-fire acquisitions. Well. And I was wondering if you had any others up your sleeve. Are you interested in any tier one hardware manufacturers, for instance?
Well, so this is kind of a delicate question to answer, okay? Because if I say we're going to take a break right now, because we do need to take a break and try and put the companies together, and all of a sudden my developer's going to be scared that we're going to stop expanding. No, we intend to continue to expand, and by the same token, we're always looking. If you keep in mind, what we're trying to do is be of service to our clients and continue to grow the market. Then we're always looking for what are the things that are out there that expands our product portfolio in a way that we can give more to our clients and grow the market. And sometimes that's going to be done through internally generated capital, and sometimes it's going to be done externally. So we're always going to be looking at what's the best thing to do to try and build the company and service our clients. How's that?
I think you might need to have a conversation afterwards. Yeah, he's interested in you getting in the hardware space. Matthew had a question, I think, Steve. Next to you. Behind you.
Thank you, Haper. Thanks for coming over.
I haven't seen you in a while.
I
saw you at Pepper, come to think of it, right?
So look, I totally share your view that rolling your own isn't usually a good idea when there are great vendors like Broadsign available to do it. So that's really good to hear. In most sectors, when there's a platforms emerging, the tech vendors usually group up in one of two schools of thought. There's those who have a walled garden and they provide everything and kind of lock the client in. And then there's those that are open and can be modular and integrated with various other systems. And in industry after industry, we see these two religions coming through. And I guess within our sector, I've always seen BroadSign as being fairly open and modular and integrates nicely and plays nicely with other internal systems and so on. And IUDA's a bit more of a walled garden and quite hard to integrate with others. And I'm curious, particularly with the campsite edition, not to repeat the DSP question, but really to come to your philosophy of, are you looking to build kind of a one-stop shop end-to-end walled garden, or are you looking to be open and engaging and easy to plug in with the various other systems that your clients use?
So when I took over the company on a day-to-day basis, we always had the idea that we were going to have basically, if you look at your LumaScape, there's the BroadSign publishers and the non-BroadSign publishers. There's the agencies, there's the brands, and there's the DSPs, okay? And we always wanted to have a foot in all of the various elements in that space in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily understanding that all of our clients will say, this is my area because this is my secret sauce or something like that. But it's still important for us to have an understanding of what's going on there because it allows us to build our products better. So yeah, we're going to have products that fit in all of those different spaces. But the moment in time that we begin to close ourselves out is a moment in time at which we're going to put limitations on what's the best interest of the industry. And so, yeah, we're always going to be open. Now, sometimes building what you need to do in order to be totally open requires an expenditure of resources that we may just not have at that moment in time because we're building other stuff and so forth. But we understand that we've got to be open in order to have the market grow. And one of the things you're going to see some other stuff where we're trying to figure out different ways to open ourselves up and build our infrastructure out and stuff like that, and participate with other people too. So.
Okay, FEPI, you mentioned, we had a question on industry associations from Trueform, from Rob, I think. Yeah. This is Trueform Group, they just joined the DPAA.
Hi, Burr. Hi. You've always been a great supporter, like ourselves, of industry associations such as DPAA. How important do you think these associations are to our industry?
So associations are critical and absolutely essential. There are certain things associations are really good at, establishing like common formats, establishing standards and stuff like that. You know, so there's places where associations can function. You know, the reverse side of that is if you get into like the patent thing that happened a couple of years ago, you can't have a patent fought by an association because there's too many people to make decisions. There's certain places where you have to make a decision, and that decision has to be led by a particular group or a particular entity. But there's other places where cooperation is absolutely essential, and you know, it's not just DPAA, it's DSC, it's OAAA, it's FEPA. All of these associations are absolutely critical. Root. So.
Fiona had a question.
Hello, Burr, and also congratulations on the acquisitions. I just wondered, in the immediate, what do you see as being your biggest challenges in the business?
Well, the biggest challenge right now is getting the two organizations together. Well, three organizations together. And actually, that's what I was doing yesterday before I got on a plane to come here today. So that's one of the biggest challenges. The second thing that you're going to find that I'm going to be focused on a little more this year is driving more of the stuff around the programmatic solution, because we've got a little broader offering now, we've got a little more depth, and I'm going to spend a lot more time with Adam on trying to build that out.
Okay. We have another question from Mr. Smith from Rose Cottage this time. These are the anonymous ones. You have flirted with industry sectors other than out-of-home in the past. Are you going to branch out into retail, hospitality, corporate communications, or other verticals? Or is out-of-home the only place that you'll play from now on?
So
I think it says Scala at the bottom. I'm not sure what it says.
That's an interesting company, but they're kind of owned right now.
I think the question wasn't in terms of acquisitions, but in terms of your own software.
Competing.
You do have.
And the fact of the matter is,
in retail, for
the
example.
fact of the matter is, it's we try to do what we're good at the moment in time, and it's good to focus in particular areas. So you know, for the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see us continue to build on our advertising stack. Now, at some point in time, we do want to have diversified revenue streams so that we're not just dependent on the advertising revenue. And then at the right time, when we can get a little bit of expertise, we may edge out into other areas.
It's fun. Steve's going to have his fun in a minute, because when we finish with Burr, Steve's leading the last session of the day with a couple of things, and I'll be running around with the microphone, I guess. I'm just trying to give you some exercise, because the next question was actually next to Fiona, but I just thought I'd choose Russ, and you have to go around the other side of the room.
Well, then I get to ask a question because you made a mistake.
Okay.
Little broader question. You recently were selected by Intersection to be the company that's powering one of the most highly visible networks in the world, the Link NYC Smart Cities Network. Prior to BroadSign's involvement, it was reported in the media that they had run into some problems, a little bit behind schedule, maybe weren't making their objectives at the time. Do you have any good news for all of us about what's going on with that network? Because that's such an important thing to our industry.
Well, I can tell you they're pretty deployed on us right now, and I don't think we're having much in the way of performance problems that I know of. If they were, it would be a matter of immediate concern to the executive committee at BroadSign. You know, what we do is we try and help our customers do. We try and provide them the tools to allow them to manage their business in the best way. Those guys at Intersection are really smart guys, and they're really innovative thinkers. We have a high regard for them. I imagine they're going to deal with some of the things that they've got. Fortunately, I think they've got us to help them out on a certain portion of their problems so they can focus on other things now. So.
Russ had a question.
Yeah, I have a question about, from the perspective of an events organizer, concerning DSE in Las Vegas, where we haven't been for the last 2 or 3 years, but we keep hearing it's declining in terms of attendance and interest, and yet you guys still are taking space there. Are you getting value from this? Is it something you want to continue?
We're sponsoring it there. We actually had our best attendance in the history of the company there this year. I can't speak to whether other people had the same level of attendance or not, but we were pleased with what happened at DSE, and I expect we're going to be there again next year.
So for you, it's a question of quality, not quantity.
You know, at most of our shows, we don't get that much walk-in business in the shows. Most of our shows are generated around an opportunity to see our clients and deepen our relationship with our clients. And every one of those is an opportunity for us to build our relationship with our clients better. And again, we had a productive show there this year.
Great. Okay.
So we've allowed some of your employees to ask questions. You're okay with that, I'm sure. I'm sure you've been fielding questions from your employees for the past 2 weeks. And there's a certain lady at the back of the room in red. The lady in red has a question.
All right,
we didn't
Burr.
vet these questions, by the way. Okay, so just steady on.
This one's going to be a tough one. I'm worried about this one.
Well, answer it as you best see fit. What is the craziest thing you've ever done?
Now, let me...
You already know the answer to this
question.
Well,
but that's why she's asked it. Can I just say, so our lovely Prime Minister was asked sometime last year on a radio program, what's the craziest thing you ever did as a child? And she said, I once ran through a cornfield. And that was it. And that sort of pretty much sums up our politics.
Well, I mean, I did ride across the country on a bike one time, but I mean, you already know the answer to this one. In the spring of 2011, the two closest people, and I shouldn't say this because it embarrasses them both, the two closest people in my life are my wife and Kate Smith, who's the woman who runs the Jedfam family office. And both of them came to me and they said, Burr, if you don't quit putting money into this company, you're going to go bankrupt. And I told them both, you guys know how much I love you, but I'm just going to keep on doing this. And I just kept on doing it. And you know what? I think we're money good now. So
that company was obviously Broadside.
That company was Broadside, yeah.
Lovely question. Ben has a question as well. Ben, so sit next to David. Ben.
Hi, Burr.
Yeah.
My question is, how would you best describe Broadside to someone who isn't from the industry?
Broadsign is a service provider in the out-of-home industry. The out-of-home industry is probably the next big frontier of where advertising and investment will go. We're a company that works with our clients and publishers in order to solve problems for them. And based on our success, we're pretty good at it. And I take pride in that. And it's an honor and a privilege to work with the clients we have. And it's an honor and a privilege to work with the employees that we have. And I feel good about this. This is one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I hope that answers the question.
We had another question from an employee, Stuart McMahon, front here. And Stuart, I only met Stuart a couple of weeks ago. You're Broadsign Reach. How long have you been with Broadsign?
8 months.
Be careful what you ask.
It's specific to Broadsign Reach. The market's moving extremely quickly, and we're moving within it. What would you say are the greatest challenges we face within the programmatic space?
Does he keep his job?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't think the publishers at large understand what they need to do in order to get the audience data that's necessary in order to sell programmatically. I think people have to work a lot harder to understand the importance of trying to sell to audiences. And I also think on the publisher side, there's kind of a tendency for people to do their own individual thing relative to trying to build their own solutions. And I think it's a much better idea for the industry to kind of figure out a way to come together and provide a more unified offering so that you can provide the kind of scale that needs to be provided for the advertisers to actually put money into the market. So basically kind of a twofold problem.
Good. So I'm going to take my time and get this right. Weisstein? Weisstein and Hawkson from Iceland. He's one of your customers.
Wow.
All the way from Iceland. Was here yesterday at the AdTech conference, come again today. Broadsign customer. And they've just won a contract against Deco, or they've taken over from Deco bus shelters. Going to build 250 minimum digital bus shelters in Iceland. How's the question?
Are we taking care of you, number one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not allowed to ask questions.
Well, actually, it's a few months back. I was negotiating with Ayuda and Broadsign because of the expansion, and Broadsign was about 20% more expensive, but because of your values and how you do things, so I decided to go with Broadsign. But I have to admit, when I saw the merger, I kind of thought that maybe I could have spent a little less money. But I'm happy with my choice, so that's good. But I have actually two questions.
Yeah.
Do you foresee any more mergers? I think now you're a global company in Europe. Are you gonna be the only one left? And maybe the second one is in 5 years. I think 10 years is too much, but in 5 years, are we going to see different revenue models that coming more from programmatic instead of monthly fees?
Okay, so I'm hearing three questions there. One has to do with Ayuda. We think IUTA is a great company. We like the people a whole lot. We like the product offering a whole lot. We think IUTA was, to be frank, a little bit. They invested on their platform for a number of years. That made it more difficult to roll out, and we think we need to kind of beef up the commitment that IUTA has to overall quality and customer satisfaction. So that's going to be one of the issues that we address first off. I think the second question you had was, are there going to be some more mergers? Yeah, there's consolidation is going to occur. As this industry begins to mature, there's going to be a lot more consolidation. Maybe it'll be on the service side, it'll definitely be some on the publisher side. But will there only ever be one company? No, there'll never be just one company. Then the third question you had, I'm sorry, I forgot. The last one? Yeah. Okay.
I think it was discount.
Well, I'm wondering if the revenue models.
Oh, the revenue models. Yeah, for sure you're going to see some changes in revenue models. You're going to find that revenue models are going to be priced based on the value that's being provided in each of the individual products, and the products are going to change a lot. You know, we're in the process where what is happening is what we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate the friction that happens in that advertising system, and that friction happens at the publication process, it happens in the booking process, it happens all the way through there, and there will be different revenue models that will respond to each of those problems. Does that address the question?
Andreas has a question. You know him?
Yeah, hi.
Congratulations on the
Are you going to ask me
acquisition.
whether Highstack was ever part of the deal?
I didn't think you liked pink. Really, congratulations on the IUTA acquisition. I commend you on your vision for seeing consolidation in the space. Fragmentation doesn't help anybody, and I think you've always acted in the spirits of what's in the best interest of media owners. So I truly commend you on that. I also congratulate you on inheriting an awesome team. Got some people here in the room. I handpicked them myself, and I think Broadsign's a great home for them. I guess my question is, you've had a busy few months. What are you looking forward to next?
Making sure that we put the companies together. I want to make sure that, funny, I try and know almost all the people in Broadsign. I know them by, I may not know their names or anything like that, but I know them by face and stuff like that. I want to get to know the people in IUTA. I don't want to lose that sort of sense of anything. We want to get them to buy into sort of the overall Broadsign values. Once we get that done, together with the folks from Campsite, I think we're going to provide a really powerful platform to enable the rest of the market to grow in a meaningful way for everybody in the market. It's all about just growing the market for everybody. If we grow that market, everybody will be able to make a living and take pride in what they do. So.
Okay, now I'm going to ask the last question. Burr is a lawyer by trade, profession, training.
One time.
Long time ago, maybe. And following on from what Andreas said about what you've done from a goodness perspective in the media industry, not many people in Europe would necessarily know that Burr was the one person who stood up in the US and fought against some of the patent trolls that we had. If you've ever been to any of our investor conferences Steve and I have put together over the years, you'll know that patent trolls have been a big issue where people go back and claim prior rights and whatever else. And there was one particular one called T-Rex, which I think actually came from Scandinavia. And although Broadsign weren't attacked by the T-Rex patent troll, Burr took it upon himself to fight that troll. And I suspect there was considerable expense, and there was certainly considerable amounts of time to do that. So I think in a minute we can congratulate Burr for doing that, but I just wanted to ask Burr, why did you think it was so important to do that?
Well, they were they were attacking our clients,
Okay.
and that kind of aggravated me some. There's certain times when you just got to take a stand at stuff. And like I said, you know, sometimes industry organizations can't do that. It has to be somebody who can go forward and do that. And it seemed like we were the right people to do that. And I've said this story before. I flew up, I told them, look, guys, you can stop suing our clients and we'll let you be. But this is my core business, and I'll spend $2 million or more to fight you, before I'm going to pay you a dollar in any kind of royalty. One of our values is do what you say you're going to do. I kind of don't think they thought I was serious about it.
You did do a council lawsuit.
But about the time that, I think they finally came, when they finally released us from all claims, I think they understood we were serious about it. So,
okay. Well, that was a brilliant thing you did for the industry. Now, we finished, so thank you for that, Burr. We should give Burr a big round of applause.